Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is JJ and I'm a reader, a writer, and a lover of stories. I love to consume stories and tell you about them. And it turns out there are a lot of different ways that you can consume stories. There's books, there's audiobooks, there's movies, there's TV shows, and one of my new favorite ways actually to find new stories and just get directly to the source of creators, because I don't know about you, but sometimes it is really refreshing to hear books and stories in exactly the way that a creator intended for them to be heard. Every book or every story that is ever produced, right? Whether that's film or TV or books or even audiobooks, that story has been edited and refined by so many people, including the author. It's been rewritten and rewritten and rewritten so many times that by the time it gets to you, the listener or the consumer, it is not necessarily what it was when it was created, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes it's really refreshing just to get to the core of, not exactly unedited, because every story will always go through editing, but there's ways that you can get a little bit to that, the closer to the author in that sort of spectrum, right? And one of my favorite ways to do that in recent years, actually I discovered this a couple years ago, but it's really taken off, and I love that it has really taken off, is audio dramas. Audio dramas are so cool. They are fiction podcasts. So they're like a TV show, or it's essentially like the TV version, like the TV show version of a audiobook, if that makes sense, right? So if you think of an audiobook like a movie, where it's this longer product of one complete storyline, versus the TV show is broken up into episodes, but you're still getting this whole plot line over a series or over a season. Think of that, but in audiobook format. And even more, think of it as a fully produced, full cast and crew, full sound effects, immersive audio experience. And that is an audio drama. It is so cool that this exists, and I love that it's becoming a little bit more mainstream. And so today I wanted to tell you about a few of my all-time favorite audio dramas that I've listened to on Spotify, because they're podcasts. They're everywhere that podcasts can be listened to for the most part, and it is time that more people knew about these, because I want to talk about them and I love them. Great. Starting off with The Bright Sessions. If you are new to audio drama, The Bright Sessions is a really good spot to start. It's a really fantastic place to start, actually. It is the recorded sessions of a counselor/therapist who works specifically with people who have superpowers. I'm just going to let you sit with that for a second. If superheroes went to counseling, what would they talk about? And it's not even superheroes specifically. It's people with uncanny abilities who need help coping with them. And what if perhaps there was a secret government agency that was keeping tabs on all of these people, because maybe they needed them for spying, or maybe they needed them to go do cool, crazy things, right? Some of these abilities are really helpful, and some of them are a little bit dangerous. And would that put you on a watch list if you had one of those more dangerous abilities? That's what is explored in The Bright Sessions. It's such a cool concept, because it really feels like you as the listener have discovered these notes from this counselor/therapist/psychiatrist who's helping these clients deal with living with uncanny abilities that a lot of people would view as superheroes or superpowers, and a lot of people would view as a problem in some ways, right? They're not easy to deal with. If you were accidentally time traveling, that would not be something that's easy to deal with. Or like, I mean, I think about empaths all the time, right? But what if you genuinely had no ability to not feel what everybody around you was feeling? What would that be like to go through high school and all of the anxiety of it, like a test day? Like, can you imagine feeling not only your anxiety, but also everyone else's in the room and having to like live with that? I think I would need counseling too. So it's a really cool concept. Plus, all of the stories are interconnected, but it feels like it's found files, right? Where you're listening to these found audio recordings of this psychiatrist, Dr. Bright. It is so cool. I love that one. If you haven't and you want to go try it, go try that one first. It is a really good intro to audio dramas because it's very easy to like put yourself into the story as a reader or a listener in some regards, right? It's also like not that long of a show. I think there's 2, maybe 3 seasons. And it's a decent way to like dip your toe into it and get used to it being fully produced. Because that's what like the difference. If you're used to listening to audio books and you're used to just somebody reading and not having a full cast and full sound effects, like if somebody's walking across the room, you're going to hear the footsteps. Somebody's opening or closing a door, you're going to hear that door opening and closing. It's fully produced, full acting. People like they have people who are cast for all of the main characters, etc. It's so interesting and it's so cool. Next up, I want to talk to you about the Amelia project. This is one that I'm still working my way through because it is very long. There are a lot of seasons. I did not realize what I was getting into when I got into this show. But this one is about people who help other people fake their deaths to disappear. The interviewer is the quirkiest, funniest character I think I've ever listened to. He's so eccentric, and I love him. He's hilarious. The character dynamics, the people that they bring in too, like how they got all of these interlocking storylines to really like introduce the concept of what if there was a secret society that could help you fake your death? And if you were an FBI agent, how would you stop that from happening? Because some of these people should not necessarily have their deaths faked, right? It's just such a cool storyline and how it devolves into the chaos that it becomes. And again, I'm only in, I think, season 2, maybe season 3. It becomes chaotic really quickly, and I'm glad that I was paying attention in the first season. It's so cool though. Again, and there's just like not enough people talking about it, so go check it out. It will always make you want to drink hot cocoa, and I don't know how they did that. I mean, I do know how they did that. They talk about it every single episode, but even so, the impact of that is surprisingly uncanny. Next up, I have to talk about another one. This is even less well known than either of these other two, and it is by Mouse Knight Studios. Ghost Inspectors. This is a murder mystery where the people who got murdered are 2 private detectives, and they're trying to solve their own murder from beyond the grave. Think about that for a second. 2 detectives get murdered by a serial killer who has been getting away with this for a long time, and they can only stop him from beyond the grave now because they're now ghosts. Ghost inspectors. It is so funny. Detective Ned Kelly is probably my favorite character. He's hilarious. It's a classic kind of tale, right? You have these 2 different characters, one who's no nonsense, really good at detecting things, and then one who's like hilarious and just riffing off of the other person all the time. One who's a skeptic about ghosts until she becomes one who's been way into like learning about the afterlife for a really long time, ever since he was alive, going to the psychic to like go interact with his mom and like see him or see her again and do all of that. And it's just such an interesting storyline, and it's so fun. You gotta go listen to it. You gotta go listen to it. It's a good one. It's also a nice little short one, so if you're just dipping your toe into audio dramas, it's a good place to start. especially for all of you, because I imagine that if you're on my channel, you probably like things that are funny, and you probably like murder mysteries, because those are the things that I like. So if you like those things, you're gonna want to go see this one. Lastly, and this is kind of pushing that a little bit of what exactly is an audio drama, I have to introduce you to the 36 Questions. It is a podcast musical. You heard that, right? It's an audio drama musical. And the music is stuck in my head forever. I've listened to this whole thing in completion at least 3 times. It is downloaded on my Spotify account so I can listen to it on plane rides. And it is so good. The way that they seamlessly move between music, singing, and acting and the storytelling, the way that they work into why this whole thing is recorded in the first place, it breaks the fourth wall a little bit in that regard, where you've kind of found these recordings, you're listening to the record as it stands. Why are you listening to it? How did you get it? They didn't really answer that question, but these characters kept this record of their love life, and they would just record random moments from their life, from their day, random conversations that they had as time went on. And it's a musical, so if you like musicals and you like rom-coms and you like tragedies in some regards, you're gonna have to go check that one out. One of the songs actually went pretty viral on TikTok, which is how I discovered it. The song that went viral is For the Record, and it is so funny. But essentially this one was based off of, there's an actual social experiment that was conducted called the 36 Questions to Fall in Love. And the idea is that if you go through these 36 questions, it's 3 sets of 12. If you go in order and you sit across the table from a random stranger and you make eye contact and you ask and answer all of these questions, which actually they're fantastic get to know you questions. Highly recommend using them on dates. They're great icebreaker questions. I don't know that they'll actually make you fall in love, but you will feel a little bit closer to that person because of the way that they go from shallow and all the way down into really pretty deep getting to know this person across the table from you. These 36 questions sparked this musical, where the whole musical is them going through the 36 questions because they used them when they were falling in love with each other. And as the truth came out about one of the characters, and the fact that they lied about a lot of who they are, their relationship got pretty rocky, because that's what happens when people lie in relationships, right? And they go through these questions to try to save their marriage. Or at least that's the goal, right? Whether it works or not, I'll let you go find out by listening to the 36 Questions musical podcast. But they're fiction podcasts. They're fully produced audio fiction podcasts where you have sound effects, you have actors, you have singing when it's required, you have sound designers, you have scriptwriters. It is like it's a full-on production that's just available for free on podcast apps. So I can't recommend these highly enough. These are 4 that I've really enjoyed. I'm still looking for even more. But yeah, you gotta go listen to these if you like audiobooks and if you like stories and if you want something that's a little bit easier to like dive into and out of rather than like a full-on audiobook, because audiobooks can be a bit of a commitment. Whereas these ones, I mean, with the exception of the Amelia project, which I don't even know how many seasons there are. I'm committed though, so here we go, right? These ones are fun ways to get that story of an audiobook in a little bit easier of a medium to like just be fully entrenched into. Have you listened to audio dramas before? Is this the first you're hearing about them? Which one of these sounds the most interesting for you to try? I would love to hear about your thoughts on all of this down below. And also, if you prefer the very much like the simpler version of audiobooks where it's like one reader doing multiple voices maybe, or even just one reader reading their book to you, maybe it's the author even, or if you prefer having like that fully produced experience that makes it immersive in a lot of ways, I'm curious, because I really enjoy both, I've discovered. And I kind of wish that all audiobooks had the option to have both, but But maybe that's not the case. Maybe part of the reason that audiobooks are the way that they are and not fully produced productions like this is, I mean, a lot of it comes down to funding, right? But I wonder too if there's like a reader perspective in there that people are curious one way or another. I just want to hear your thoughts on it. So put those down below. Happy reading, happy listening, happy watching, however you consume your stories. And until next time, I will see you then.